We have Councilman King, Chief Rogers, Vice Mayor White, Law Director Ryan, Mayor Brennan, and Chief of Staff Brianna Brenner Fisher. And thank you all for coming. We're just going to go ahead and just jump right on into the agenda. Going to try to keep everything moving smoothly and quickly as possible so that we can get through the agenda items. The first item on the agenda is the discussion regarding e-bikes and scooter rentals, the metrics over the past 6 months, looking at things like how often they're rented, where they're rented, who's renting them. I'm going to ask Ms. Brimmer Fisher if you would please speak first if you would like.
Got it. Okay. All right. Yes. So Council Member Marshall had asked me to put together some statistics on e-bikes and scooters, and so I put together what we have. I don't know if this will answer all of your questions, but there is a packet that's available at the front of the room here and is also emailed to you as well. So we participate in the Regional Shared Mobility Program together with the City of Cleveland, City of East Cleveland, City of Cleveland Heights, and the City of South Euclid. Each of these mobile devices has a unique ID, and there is also a 24-hour customer service line for these. There are 2 vendors that participate in all of these cities, Bird and Veo. Here is the information for each of them. I know one of the questions that people have asked recently is what classification the bicycles are that these 2 vendors have. And so the Bird bikes are class 1 and the Veo bikes are class 2. The top speed for these bikes is below 20 miles per hour. And that is one of the reasons why they are classified as either 1 or 2. And the same goes for the scooters, although they don't have the same classifications. Their maximum speed is 15 miles per hour. So this information is on the city's website. We put it in the help desk so that if residents experience a problem and they need to know how to contact either Bird or Veo, they can do so with this information here, including having a direct link to their report a problem landing site. The county has put together this program for a variety of reasons. One, to just help make up that last mile for connections for those who take public transportation. But it's really to enable everyone to have more access to travel opportunities within our communities. The county did put together or just recently sent us a report for 3rd quarter. And so the next page shows ridership in the 4 suburban cities. You can see that University Heights has the smallest ridership of 542 rides in the 3rd quarter of 2025. And then on the next page, you can see the daily ridership totals there again for the cities who participate in the program. The next page actually gives information specific to University Heights on our ridership. I'm sorry, actually has the ridership for all of the participating cities for the first 3 quarters of this year. So you can see how obviously in Q1 during wintertime, and I think with us, that was really the very beginning of the program. You can see that the numbers are much lower, but they picked up quite a bit during the summertime, and we'll have to see what Q4 looks like. There are 90 bike share parking stations located throughout the county, and there are 4 of them in University Heights, and they are all located along the Cedar Road corridor. 2 of them are at Cedar and Taylor, one on either side of that intersection. One's near the library and one is near the Whole Foods. And so that's where the 4 parking locations are from the Cuyahoga County program. And this was the initial installation, the initial bike share parking stations that were installed throughout the county. All of them have the signage, and there's a picture of the signage that you see there, just reminding people about what are the things that they need to do if they participate in the program. The next page actually gives statistics specifically to University Heights. You can see the total trips for all vehicles, and then you can see it broken out by scooters and by e-bikes. The next page just gives a graphical representation of that. You can see it broken out by blue being Bird and the orange being Veo. And as you can see, there's virtually nothing that happened in the first quarter, just a little bit of Bird, perhaps Veo wasn't even installed at that point, but then you can see that it picked up quite a bit during the summer months, particularly in July. The next page gives a heat map of where people are traveling. You can see that in purple are the most traveled routes, so you can see that along Cedar Road, you can see there's quite a bit of purple there, and you can see around John Carroll University, there's quite a bit of purple there. The red are just a little bit fewer trips there, and then the gold would be even fewer trips. So you can see where rides are concentrated in our suburb. The next page gives statistics by hour. And so you can see that the most popular hours are 4 p.m. and 8 and 9 p.m. And then the final page shows you the most popular day. And as you can see, Friday is our most popular day in University Heights. That's all the information that I have for you, and hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, thank you. It definitely answered how often they were rented, and it answered all three of the questions that I asked. Well, not the who was renting them, but it does answer how often and where.
Yeah, there isn't any demographic information
Right.
available to us.
Right, thank you. Did anybody, Vice Mayor Wise?
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. I just wanted to ask the chief, have you encountered any like traffic incidents or anything like that?
Yes, so for this meeting, I was asked to prepare data for the past 6 months regarding traffic crashes and complaints. What we did was obtain data, and it's in the packet I just sent out and emailed it earlier, but we obtained data to get a better idea of what's going on out there in our CAD system back to June 20th of 23, which was when the geofencing was changed, and the city council allowed for the e-bikes and e-scooters to be used citywide for the rentals. So what we did was we kind of went through all that data since then, about 2 years and 3 months worth of data. The memo titled e-bike, e-scooter CAD data, that's one of 3 memos. I'll be referring to that. So since then, over the past, again, 2 years and 3 months, we've had 6 total complaints where e-bikes or an e-scooter was left on sidewalks, parking lots, or walkways. Again, we don't know if those are actual rented or not. Some of the information on the first page breaks it down further. I'll move along on that first page to a different category of data that's specific to traffic stops that our officers initiated, either for an e-bike or an e-scooter. And that breakdown is also there, and that involves 3 incidents. And then moving on, we had 7 complaints received regarding the drivers of the e-scooters and how they were driving. Again, that breaks it down further within that category. And then moving on to possible injury-related types of CAD entries. We had 6 total CAD entries where riders of an e-bike or an e-scooter fell off. All of these resulted in minor injuries, as indicated there in the different data points and breakdowns. Also, during this time period, we had 5 total traffic crashes or accidents involving the e-scooters or an e-bike, in which we had 2 one minor injury and one possible injury. So on page 2 of that memo, it breaks it down further. So again, during the two years and 3-month period, we had 28 total CAD entries involving e-bikes and e-scooters. And just for reference, we typically average between 23 and 25,000 CAD entries a year that documents anything that goes into our CAD system to include traffic stops, which occurred for some of these data points. So again, we've had 28 over a 2-year, 3-month period. Also further breaking that down on page 2 is a table where it talks about, more categorizes the data over the past, during this time frame. And I think it's important to look at traffic crashes. We've had 5 in that time period, again, all in 2024. We've had 6 incidents over that time period where somebody fell off an e-bike or a scooter. And from all the data points that we have in our CAD system, there was 7 injuries during that time frame. And they were all either minor or possible from the data from our CAD system.
Thank you. And with the injuries, I noticed that there's a few juveniles that that were involved in several of the incidents. With the injuries, are those mostly juveniles?
Well, let's look at page 1. 6 total entries where riders fell off an e-bike. I'll look at that here briefly. Hold on. 5 of those 6 incidents involved juveniles, and 1 incident involved an older adult male.
Okay,
And then on page 2, I think it looks like 1 incident involved a juvenile during an actual traffic crash. From the data that we have here, yeah.
oh, okay, the one at the bottom where it says the one accident where juvenile driver ran into a pole.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Vice Mayor Warren.
Yeah, thanks. I just had a question for Ms. Bremer Fisher. I want to, first of all, thank you for the explanation of everything. Have you heard that the 2 companies want to continue in University Heights, or have you heard any feedback from them?
From the 2 companies, those 2 companies are at work in all of the 5 cities.
Right.
And I've not heard any discussions as to any of the companies not wanting to continue at this point, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, no, like have you heard anything from these 2 companies specifically, or have any other companies requested any type of access to University Heights?
No, I believe that the county is gatekeeping that and always selecting 2 vendors, and these are the 2 vendors that they have selected for all 5 cities.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mr. King.
I mean, we don't have any demographics per se, but I mean, there is a heavy concentration of usage around John Carroll. So I think that's a good way for them to get around the town. It is interesting how concentrated it is around the university, though.
Thank you. So it seems like the program is not, it's not like causing too many problems, but there are some concerns, and to me, it leads into the next agenda item. But does anyone have any other questions or any comments on this agenda item? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bremer Fisher, for putting this together. This was very informative, and I appreciate it, and you did it very quickly as well. Thank you so much, and thank you, Chief Rogers. So, for agenda item number 2, a discussion regarding the city's codified ordinance chapter relating to the bicycles and motorcycles, section 444.14 pertaining to the operation of motorized bicycles and electric bicycles respectively. One of the things that I was concerned about is that it's been quite a few complaints about, the kids in particular on the scooters and driving very fast, people that are underage operating the scooters and not having on helmets. So it led me to feel like we needed to, I looked at our ordinance, everybody should have a copy. It's two proposed changes to the ordinance. It's 2025-48. And if you look at, so I did two options, just two different versions based on what we discussed, what everybody is thinking. But if you turn to page 3 and right at the top,
And which version?
oh, I'm sorry, version 1, my apologies. Yeah, I'm looking at version 1. So my concern was that everybody, I was thinking that everybody should be wearing helmets if they're operating these scooters or these e-bikes because of the speed of them, the possibility of accidents, and if somebody falls off and injure themselves. But the law director and I had some discussion that that might not be possible. So one of the changes is no person who is under 18 years of age shall operate or be a passenger on a class 1 or 2 electric bike unless the person is wearing a protective helmet that meets the standards established by the Consumer Product Safety Commission or the American Society for Testing Materials. So that was one of my proposed changes. Let me look and see.
Can I ask the law director one question, Ms. Marshall?
Yes, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So if a child under, if somebody under 18 is stopped for not wearing a helmet, they're guilty of a minor misdemeanor? Like, the, it, do other cities do that? That seems like a little harsh.
Well, it's. Our ordinance right now, this section mirrors the Ohio Revised Code provision. So this subsection 3 would be new, an addition. I think some other communities have made this addition for all e-bikes right now for class 3. Everyone needs to wear a helmet on a class 3 e-bike. I know Strongsville has adopted this ordinance, but I mean, and Chief Rogers in the past, and I've had further discussions with him and talked about the issues with, bringing enforcement action against, minors, those violations have to go to juvenile court or some kind of diversion program if the community has them, so. But yes, minor misdemeanor is maximum $150 fine.
And does that fine, I'm sorry, Mr. King,
Oh.
does that fine, is that like, I don't know what the legal, whatever, does that go on their record? A misdemeanor?
Yes, you have a juvenile record. It's not, but that gets wiped out when you turn 18. Law enforcement agencies can still see it, but for purposes of, but this isn't an offense that would go against the driver's license because you're not operating. So it's really, I mean, there's the record of the conviction, but there's really no record that would go on officially. You're not getting points against your driver's license.
Okay, and Strongsville and other cities have adopted.
I know Strongsville has, and I've been told that I think a couple other communities have. But the issue with this though, you know, again, people that are usually renting the bikes and bikes, you know, don't carry around a helmet with them. So this would essentially prohibit anyone under 18 from renting one of the public e-bikes.
So do we,
Unless they had a helmet with them.
do we need to change it to 16 then? Is that what you're gonna
So
say?
what I was going to say is that with the current rental program, you must be 18 years old
Okay.
to rent.
Oh,
the
so
bike.
All right, so
that takes
it's
care
not
of
an issue.
Okay, Mr. King,
Question for Mr. Bryan. Um, Do we know if any of our neighboring cities have an ordinance like this with covering class 1 and class 2, Cleveland Heights, South Euclid, Shaker Heights, Beechwood?
I don't believe Shaker does, but I haven't checked the other communities.
There is, I just read something. I had it.
Just from my understanding, most e-bikes that are out there are, a good number of them are class 3 already.
It was Brook Park. It wasn't one of our neighboring cities.
I think Avon Lake was another one too, that adopted it too. If some of those, they will, Ms. Bremer Fisher was saying 20 miles per hour. I don't know why I thought that some of them can go up to 35, but the ones that we have only go up to 20 miles per hour, which is still fast
Yeah.
if somebody falls off. But we do have, I don't know who's renting them, but we do have cases of the juveniles being on them. So I don't know how they're getting access to
The-
them.
The class 3 e-bikes can go up to 28 miles an hour and have a throttle on them.
And then they're supposed to, once they're on the sidewalk, not engage those motors at all, right?
ORC says that you can't, so there's kind of a diagram, a division in there where, kids can ride on the sidewalk up until they're 16, but you can't engage a motor on an e-bike while you're on the sidewalk, according to ORC.
There's other rules for shared pathways
Thank
that
you.
aren't sidewalks.
We-
Right, yeah, start.
Matter. 5:30.
The meeting was posted as 6 online.
Had to change it.
Oh, yeah, it was a public.
It still says 6 PM on the actual website. The agenda says 5:30 if you click on it.
Oh,
And I don't know whether Councilman King can answer this. How many kids really know what the ORC says?
They don't.
Okay,
I mean, we would, I think we would need to communicate to parents and let parents tell their children. But I think the city could do better with, if we are seeing incidents with e-bikes, I think communication from the city would be helpful.
I just, on the way here on Silsby, a young lady, she had to be in her teens, was on the scooter coming off of one of the side streets towards me. And she did not stop at all. She flew into the traffic and then made her right turn into the left lane on Silsby. And I'm thinking, if it was a car coming, it would have hit her dead smack. And guess what? No helmet on. So I'm just thinking, it's just really a disaster waiting to happen. Vice Mayor Wise.
I know, Chief, that you have a really successful summer program where you go around the neighborhood and talk to the kids. Like I've personally seen it all over the city, like that. Maybe that's
Yeah.
something that,
Yeah, for
We can
years,
talk about
when we created the Office of Community Policing, one of their responsibilities was to create programming, formal programming. One of those included bicycle helmet reward program for children when we see them out in the field, for our uniform officers to give them gift certificates from companies and restaurants that we partner with in the community. Yeah, it's been positive. I do have a few more questions too, if you had nothing else to add regarding the proposed ordinance. So from what I'm hearing, I feel like the terms bicycle, e-bicycle and e-scooter are kind of used interchangeably. But this, just for clarification, this ordinance is specific to just e-bikes. So I know we're hearing complaints about people on scooters not wearing helmets. But this ordinance is for e-bikes and is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that this ordinance is just for e-bicycles. Is it intended to be enforced just for the rental e-bikes, or is this for anybody on an e-bike? Whether it be a class 1, 2, or 3?
It should be anybody on the e-bike. So the second option, when you look at, version 2, and you turn to page 2, under section,
E2.
yeah, D2. And where it says no person shall operate or be a passenger on a class 1, class 2, or class 3 electric bicycle unless the person is wearing a protective helmet that meets the standard established by the Consumer Product Safety Commission or the American Society for Testing and Materials. So that was where my mind was initially. That I thought that everyone should wear them. But we have two versions because of the fact because of discussion. And if you don't mind, Mr. Bryan, would you explain the rationale?
Well, again, the second version would extend, everyone on an e-bike to wear a helmet. Marshall and I had some discussions about the subsection 1.1, that is the old regulation in this chapter dealing with mopeds and, the old moped license and Vespas and those types of things. And, just like in that section with people riding motorcycles, if they're 18 and over and they have a motorcycle license, we cannot, under state law, require them to wear a helmet. So, we adopted version 2, we would be extending ourselves, kind of greatly outside of the state law parameters right now. And it, state law does require Class E bicycle riders to wear helmets right now, and our ordinance matches that, but extending it to Class 1 and Class 2 would be something, I haven't seen anybody do that yet.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Wise.
I guess this is for the law director. If the committee would like to do this and the chief is okay, can we add scooters in
Yeah.
here?
We could, the issue with that is we have to define, what we're talking about. There's all kinds of scooters and hoverboards and segways and things like that. So we would have to work on how we're defining them.
Yeah, I think we went through some of that exercise originally when we implemented this e-scooter program. At the time, it was e-scooter for rental purposes. But there's a lot of different classifications from, toys you can buy a 10-year-old that has some e-component to it that they use, but that's nowhere near something that you would see on a class 1, 2, or 3 e-bicycle from what this ordinance is trying to regulate. But once you go that direction, there's a lot of possibilities and considerations for that road.
Mr. Cooney.
Thank you. When I saw the addition for the helmet, it seems to be it's riding in line with 444.02 regarding motorcycle. Anybody that the rider or anybody under 18 has to have a helmet as well. So those are running parallel with each other. In regards to, I started wondering like, why is it not in the same ordinance as for the e-scooters? I understand why it's separate after going through it a few times. But is there a designation between, because you have different classes for the e-bikes, but between a toy versus an e-scooter? you have the small, looks like a car the kid's driving on the driveway. An adult wouldn't ride in that, but versus the e-scooter, the other rentals that we have going throughout the city.
Right.
So I think that's the question to ask. Is it what's the difference between a toy, or is it different classifications of the e-scooters that would require something like this?
Right, and that's what I was talking about, and Chief Rogers and I have discussed that too. We really have to work to define what we want to regulate and make sure we're covering everything we want to regulate.
Is there language we have with the pilot program with the e-scooters, is there language within it that mentions classifications for the e-scooters?
I think Ms. Bremer Fisher said there aren't classifications listed on the scooters.
They're not classified as bikes are.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right, thank you.
And I think part of the discussion, we're going back a few years, also involved an ordinance regarding toys in the roadway, which incorporates some of those things you would see from a juvenile. Again, just to reiterate on the record, it's a fine line with our service and our police department with, for years, we're issuing gift cards for people wearing helmets versus citations to youngsters and juveniles for not wearing it. That's a very tricky path to navigate.
Yeah, it's one thing bringing, a 16 or 17-year-old driver to juvenile court because they're speeding in an automobile. It's a little trickier getting a 12-year-old, 14-year-old to missing school to go to juvenile court.
What's more effective? Gift certificate, probably, hopefully.
Yeah, I would think.
Yes.
that Certificate would be more effective.
Yeah, I hope so.
Stern lecture from police officer.
So with the e-scooters, is it safe to say that they are a little bit more powerful than the toys or can go faster than the toys?
My understanding is yes. There is certain adult type of scooters that can go, and I think, again, referring back to conversations we had 2.5 years ago, the e-scooters at the time could go well over 20 miles an hour, but I think we created ordinance that restricted it to 15, where some of the stuff that you'd buy a 10-year-old would, my understanding is not go over 20 or 25 miles an hour. But again, we'd have to do more research into different types of classifications if we're even going to consider something like creating more ordinance that restricts helmets and requires helmet use.
Thank you, Chief. Vice Mayor Wise.
Could we maybe, since the policing program is very well, responded to by the children in the neighborhood, can we just make this for whatever the term is for the rented scooters? And then that could be part of this? Because those are for adults. And then that could combine with this and not put the toys in there?
So we want to require helmets then?
Well, it's it's the same thing with the 18 and,
Under 18, so you're saying?
But again,
But I'm
they're
just-
gonna have to, somebody to rent them are gonna have to carry their own helmet around.
They're gonna-
with them, or you're not gonna be able to.
And
Right.
in order to rent them, you must be
No.
18 years old.
Right, but I'm
So-
saying, if
Whatever.
we require people to wear a helmet if you're over 18 in order to rent
I'm
a
not,
scooter, somebody's gonna have to.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm not saying the helmet specifically, but this has a lot of good language in here just in general for safety and just adapt it to not just have electric bicycle regulations, but electric scooter regulations.
You want to have it all encompassing between the two.
Right.
Okay.
It
That's
is,
what I was thinking that it could be.
currently it's very narrowly defined on a device, a shared mobility device that you rent for a fee. The way that's written right now. And it does have a 15-mile-an-hour limit on it within that ordinance.
Class 1.
For any bike that you, or
But
Yeah,
the
or
scooter can go
scooter.
20.
that you rent,
What did we just say?
yeah.
One of them can go 20, so that would have to be.
So, Mr. Brown, we can possibly add the e-scooter in there?
Yes, I can work on expanding it. something together.
So what I feel like I'm hearing from you, Ms. Brimmer Fisher, is you don't see, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not really seeing the purpose in it because you have to be 18 years or older to rent it in the first place.
For the e-bikes, that's correct.
E-scooters.
And e-scooters as well.
But the other thing is, I mean, people have their own personal,
Yeah.
but they're not renting, they may
Exactly.
own their own. You know,
Exactly.
parents may give their kids e-bike to help get around or an e-scooter, so.
So we
Those
want,
could be like the woman you saw, you know, almost get in the accident. That could have been her own e-scooter.
right, right. So I want to make sure we're covering all of them, not just the ones that have the fees. If that's making sense.
Yes.
So basically, between the two versions, the better version would be version 1 as opposed to version 2.
I think so. I think we're gonna have a tough time telling an adult on a class 1 bike. they
Okay.
have to wear a-
Yeah, I don't think we want to get into that.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions on this particular agenda item?
Are we
So-
taking questions from the audience?
Oh, shoot, we really don't have a lot of time. We can take it, but just make it brief as possible, because I have several more items I want to get to. And thank you, Mr. Malal.
Yeah, I'll keep it super brief. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I just took the liberty of checking nearby cities and seeing what they had on rules for helmets and stuff like that. Cleveland does not have anything in the code beyond what the state requires. Shaker copies the state code exactly, just like we currently do. Our e-bike laws is exactly the same as the Ohio Revised Code. South Euclid also copies the ORC, and Cleveland Heights has none. So I would just ask you to exercise some caution here, because we will also have people from, excuse me, with the origin in a different city, where they would follow their own city's laws and then pass through University Heights, and then bam, you've suddenly got a ticket. And that's not something that I think we want to be known for as the bike Nazi city, you know, that sort of thing. So, you know, just keep that in mind, that it's not people are only spending time in the city. They're passing in between ours and other cities. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, anybody else have any comments? Okay. Okay, so I'm still thinking of from the safety's perspective of this. Is it safe to say that if we add the e-scooters in to the ordinance, that everybody is okay with it or no? Mr. King?
Are you saying that this evening or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
I'm open to, yeah, I'm open to seeing how we can redefine it to cover other types of scooters and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have it on going to the agenda for council, but we can wait and hold off on that until, Mr. Bryan, you go over it and see what you can do as far as adding the other scooters in. Okay,
So, yeah, council can table it and state that it's gonna remain in the safety committee for further work and discussion.
okay, thank you.
So would we just remove both items or remove one item and table
Oh, we're gonna remove, because
one?
this one, we're not even, gonna even consider version 2 at all.
Right.
So
They're both on the agenda this
they'll
evening,
both be
though.
removed.
Okay.
One to be tabled, one to just be removed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item. Number 3, a discussion and report from the police chief regarding data of the parking violation issued and the outcome since the implementation of the new parking penalty. I wanted to see, where we stand, with, the parking situation, if there's any improvement, how many tickets were issued and everything since, and how it's been, affecting everything since the implementation of the new tickets. Chief Rogers.
All right, thank you. I'm going to refer to a memo that was part of the packet and also emailed earlier today titled Parking Data. What this data, the timeframe this data is from is January 1st through September 30th. In the tables below for years 2021 through 2025. So you'll see that parking citations on streets near John Carroll on Washington, Glendon, Claver, South Belvoir, Silsby, Fairmont, two Fairmont, Loyola, Bromley, Lamont, Carroll, Boulevard are all considered in this, these data points that we've been providing over the past couple of years. I do want to hit on the notes that are indicated about halfway down the first page. The John Carroll Belvoir parking lot closed on August 8th, 2022. The new parking ticket fines collection process was implemented on April 14th, 2024. And then new parking ticket fine increases were implemented on August 27th of 2025. And when I say implemented, I mean implemented in the field for the department to utilize. So we'll start with the first.
So what you're saying, there's 1 month of data, then basically September for the higher fines?
Yes, it's a short period. We weren't really able to get data to break it down just over a month, but we still collected data for, like, again, from January through September for comparison from 25 in the previous years of 2021. But what is important is on the totals there, you'll see in the areas cited around John Carroll through September this year, we've issued 1,063 parking citations. 2024, we issued 642. 2023, in that same time frame, we issued 619. 2022, keep in mind, which was the year that the Belvoir lot closed in August, we issued 228. And for control, we included again 2021 data, which was before the John Carroll Belvoir lot being closed. And we issued 185 parking citations around those adjacent streets. Also, just for general awareness, we included citywide parking sites issued during that same time frame, which includes the John Carroll area citations, which you'll see that the different ratios of how much those parking tickets make up of the citywide parking tickets that are issued. For note 2025, so far they average about half the parking tickets that we've issued so far through September has been in that area. And then moving on to the bottom of the page, we've historically provided the safety committee with the data for the parking complaints that we receive from the community that's in our CAD system, as well as the vehicles towed due to parking tickets, also in the same area in streets adjacent to John Carroll. You'll see for the parking complaints that we've received in our CAD system, and that's from residents actually calling into our police dispatch. Through September of this year, we've had 60 parking complaints from residents in this area. 2024, we had 209 complaints from residents in this time frame. And then going back, 2023, we had 65. 2022, we had 59. And then 2021, which was the last year before the Belvoir lot closed, last full year, in this time frame, we had 29 parking complaints in that area, which you can see a pretty significant increase over the years post Belvoir lot closing. And then the same data is collected for the vehicles towed. Through September of this year, we've towed by far more vehicles at 16 than we ever have previously in this area. You'll see that in 2021, before the Belvoir lot closed, there was only a need to tow one vehicle as a result of outstanding parking tickets or other type of prohibited parking that required the vehicle to be towed. So what I can say, and I think my message has been pretty consistent over the past couple of years since the Belvoir lot closed, We will keep assigning officers to do parking details there. The citations, as the data shows, have not really slowed. But we'll continue to enforce the ordinance that we have regarding parking tickets. And hopefully at some point, there is some type of parking solution that's made in this area of the campus of John Carroll. I will say that in meeting with Chief Dabrico, who's the John Carroll Police Chief, on Tuesday of this past week, they've confirmed a hard date for the ingress and egress points to open up on Belvoir to John Carroll's main campus, which that would be the first time since the lock closed in August of 2022 where vehicles could actually drive in that area and then also access campus, main campus, to try to find a parking spot on campus. With that ingress and egress point being closed since 2022, once the car's over there, they're probably just going to park wherever they park. But now, starting Monday of next week, they'll have the ability now to drive on the campus from Belvoir, where we have in the area campus where we have all the complaints and the citations issued. There's going to be 60 to 70 more parking spaces around the new field house. And then additional spaces that have opened up from other construction ending on campus as well. We'll continue to monitor that. I would also like to acknowledge at this time that I don't want to get off too much topic, but with that whole ingress and egress point, we're going back a few years to a planning commission, but my recollection is once it is opened after Monday, that there needs to be a traffic study there done as well to assess whether the traffic signal is still needed in its current configuration because there's new curb cutouts, and also consider if there's maybe better ways to manage pedestrian traffic at that location, because I think we know we get some complaints for that as well for jaywalkers.
Thank you, Chief Rogers. Vice Mayor Wise.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Marshall. And Chief, thank you. This is very clear. I just have a couple, I have three specific comments. One is now that that entrance is going to be opened on Belvoir,
Starting Monday, yes.
is their chief going to encourage parking on the lot and the shuttle?
Yes, again, I meet with Chief Dabrico at least monthly to go over various things. And one of our areas of discussion is always parking and the issue of parking. And he has been constant with his messaging to the students, to people parking in the area of John Carroll, to include special events. And that he's also communicating when we're making ordinance changes, giving everybody notice, encouraging people to park on campus, to use the shuttles. But again, I think we come back to the issue is there's no reasonable solution right now for that end of campus. People are just parking where
Well,
they
the
park.
shuttle's a reasonable solution, but.
No, I'm sorry, a reasonable solution that people are using.
Okay, I mean, the other thing I think that needs to be stressed is a lot of the athletes are the ones that are coming in the morning. I typically am driving around 6:30 in the morning. It's filled already. All of Washington, all of Belvoir, entirely filled. So I think if maybe those coaches mandate their athletes that they have to take the shuttle, that would definitely help. And if that egress and whatever, the entrance opens, you know, if they're coming so early, they're gonna get a parking spot anyways. That's one thing. The other thing is, do we have a designated traffic control officer, or is it just the patrols that are on the street?
We have 2 traffic cars. Because of shortages in staffing, we have not been able to man those in years, even before I was in this position, just as a result of turnover.
We're not fully staffed right now? I thought we were fully staffed. How
No.
many are we down?
Right now, we're down 1. We have 1 officer in training and 1 vacancy to get us to our minimum staffing that's budgeted for, which has been the same number since pretty much I've been here.
Well, but after that one officer's hired, you're fully staffed based on,
Well, keep
30.
in mind, officers have to sometimes go to the police academy, which can be 6 months. Then they have
Right,
to go
yeah,
to
sure.
field training, which can be 5 to 6 months. We currently have somebody in field training that should be done soon. They will count for manpower at that point and possibly allow for a traffic car to be created where all they do
Okay.
is parking enforcement, traffic enforcement, traffic crash investigations, and other types of details. That's a big part of what they would do. And then if we're in the process of trying to hire another person, once they would be hired and finish training to include field training, that would fill the second traffic car. But like I said, as a result of just turnover, retirements, attrition, some of the difficulties the industry's had with attracting
Sure.
qualified, interested candidates over the years. We just haven't hit that mark to have designated traffic cars for some time, but we are on track and on pace to have that, which would be very helpful.
Okay, great. And then just two more comments. So one is where you have the complaints. So 2024, there was 209 complaints versus 2025. I mean, I just think people are sick and tired of calling in, to be very honest, because there hasn't been any difference in any of them.
It's possible. But again, if we get a call, we're responding, we're enforcing, you see
Yeah,
the
I just like
numbers.
to,
Yeah,
I
that's,
think
it's
that's
very
why-
possible.
okay.
Yeah, there's,
And then the last thing is just with September for this year, and I'm just looking at the JCU area. That just seems super low compared to what I see in non-ticketed cars every day. So
which.
September of
paper?
2025. I mean, if,
September 20.
the
Are you
whole-
talking about citations?
yeah,
120?
I mean, they're just not getting excited.
Well, I mean, before the lot closed, we only issued 30 in that month.
No, I'm just saying that it's
No,
a
we
low
just issued
number in
100.
general when I see all of the cars. That's all.
But again, keep in mind that pretty much everywhere on Washington, east of Bromley is not restricted by 1 hour parking. It's just not. It's most of the cars on Washington are all parked legally because the 1 hour restriction is only closer to Bromley and then towards Belvoir. So there's only, if a car is parked legally, there's only so much we can do.
No, the legally, that I get, it's
Yeah.
the Belvoir and I mean, if I'm driving over there, I mean, they're blocking driveways.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out. I mean, so I hope that, with this, entrance opening up and if the chief can speak to the coaches, maybe everything together with the shuttle can help alleviate
I
that.
hope.
And it might take a few months for the higher fine to
Again,
word to
yeah.
get out the pain of paying a couple of those tickets.
People are aware of the higher fine.
Chief Rogers, for the tickets that were issued, for 2025.
Mhm.
Do you have an idea about how many of them were issued during the month, once school started back? Like August and September? Out of this 260?
I believe moving date was early August. So no, we haven't broken it down from that specific date, no, but I think it was around August 10th, maybe, moving around that time period. But no, it's not broken down since then specifically.
So you didn't notice if there was like an uptick once school reopened?
Well, I'll say that there's definitely an uptick starting in September when they're in school full time for the whole month versus the summer months. If we're looking at 25 in those surrounding streets, we had 24 citations issued, 14 in June, 18 in July, August, where they're probably there at least half of the month, 76, and then September being the first full month back from summer break, you'll see 120 citations were issued.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other comments or questions? Oh, Ms. Weiser?
Chief, you mentioned that light on Belvoir, and I know we've had complaints about when it turns green, that students continue to cross and
Yeah.
traffic can't go. With the removal of that light, is that going to allow traffic a free flow through there?
It's possible. It depends what the city would require or John Carroll would collaborate with to install a mechanism for pedestrian traffic or pedestrian crossing there. I don't know the best solution. I'll definitely defer to the traffic engineers on that, but I think they really have to do a study because of the new, you can only ingress now where the traffic signal is. You can't egress there anymore, and you can only then egress southbound south of the original ingress egress point. So it's just, the engineers are definitely going to have to consider that. And I know it was discussed previously that that signal that was there was never actually warranted in terms of numbers justifying the signal. It was installed to slow traffic and allow for a pedestrian crossing many decades ago. At that location, that was my understanding what was recommended and agreed upon with the city's engineer and John Carroll at that time. But I think just with also that being a brand new venue that could have its own additional, traffic there for various other things they may use it for, definitely needs to be a traffic study. And I just don't recall from planning commission who is required to do the traffic study. But I guess I already followed up with John Carroll and the city's engineer to get that on the radar that it needs to be done ASAP.
I think it's an opportunity now that egress is opening up.
Mhm.
That we can go back and maybe come up with a solution to the problem that we haven't been able to find with John Carroll's lack of cooperation.
Like early on in pre-con meetings, going back years with that project, I recommended some type of flip bridge or some type of alternative solution for pedestrian traffic to be removed from the actual roadway. So that was part of recommendations and guidance from our city and from our police department years ago. My understanding is that wasn't going to be part of the budget for that project.
I'm thinking maybe now it needs to, especially if they continue to expand. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions on this agenda item? Okay, thank you so much, Chief Rogers, for all of this data and the report. I appreciate it. We're going to be moving on to agenda item number 4, discussion and report from the police chief regarding the crime stats at Walter Stinson. Mr. Cooney and I had a conversation regarding some concerns about the Walt and crime happening at the Walt and the lighting at the Walt and things like that. So this is where this item stemmed from. And Chief Rogers.
All right,
Well,
so
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, if you wanted to say something, did you want to say anything, Mr. Cooney?
No, I think
Oh,
you
okay.
summed it up great. Thank you.
Okay, Chief Rogers.
All right, thank you. So I was asked to provide any criminal incidents that we had occur at Walter Stinson Park. We look back from January 1st of 2024 through September 4th, 2025, when we put this data together. And you'll see this memo is in the packet as well and was emailed earlier. It's titled Incidents from the Walt and that date frame. And we have one incident that occurred on July 7th, 2024 that involved fireworks, where there was an arrest made. And then on August 1st of 24, we had some property damage to the bathrooms. And then on June 23rd of this year, we had another report of damage that occurred at the park. So I will say that we're there regularly, doing park checks multiple times a day. We also unlock the bathrooms during certain times of the year. So we're there minimum a few times per shift. And we're there a lot to monitor. It's part of our daily patrol for the car that's assigned to that zone. And in that time period, dating back to January 1st, 2024, I don't think the data here is very significant. But that's what we had in our system, three incidents.
Okay, thank you so much. Did you have any questions,
Yeah.
Mr. Cooney?
Thank you. One of the items that came out of that was brought up in the rec committee, that should there be lighting at the park after dusk? Would that be a deterrent? Kids are looking for something to do and they could end up at the park. And if it's dark and it's a significant amount of space between the houses. So if there was lighting along the paths, as an example, would that be a deterrent? For some of these issues happening. I don't know if the answer is yes or no, but I mean, based on your experience, would the park become more inviting for others to be there, such as adults, young adults, maybe the children, or because it does get darker earlier, obviously, or could it also provide as a deterrent that you know, as, the officers are patrolling, they'll be able to see if there's anybody at the park from the east side to the west side.
I will say that this specific conversation has occurred multiple times over the past 8 years that I'm aware of. There are some components of crime prevention through environmental design that acknowledges lighting can help reduce the criminal element, but there's also the factor of a park that per ordinance closes at 9. Will that lighting invite more people there? And that's the debate. I would say that I think if we had a significant amount of crime occurring there, to include after hours, I think that lighting would probably be a more ideal solution. But I don't know if right now what lighting would do if we just installed it and how many more people we would have there and if that leads to more crime. I don't know. But that's typically the debate. There's valid arguments on both sides of it. I would say if we are going to make a change, I'd like it to be data driven, and I'm just not seeing the data, at least just looking back since January 1st of 2024. But I would, I guess, defer to council and a committee for additional perspectives on that if anybody has any.
Thank you so much. Based on what I'm seeing as far as the statistics, it doesn't look like there's a issue with crime over at the walk right now that's major. And even this, one of these incidents is in the morning. I know one was reported in the morning, but you don't know when it actually happened as far as the bathrooms getting damaged.
Mhm.
And then the one with the firecrackers,
4th of July weekend.
I feel like it was still a little daylight at that time, but they were there regardless of if it was gonna be dark or not, they were up there, so. I'm not so sure at this time, I don't know how anyone else feels. I do have a concern that putting the lighting up there is going to make people think, you know, oh, this means we're supposed to come and hang out up here because they're making it so we can see good. And that might backfire. Because
And-
we might get some people coming up there that we really don't. After 9 o'clock, it's like, that's late enough. Like, what do you want to do after 9 o'clock anyway? You know what I mean? So,
And just to be clear also, regardless if it's dark out, and there's no lights, our officers are doing foot patrols there. That's part of what we do, using low lit areas to approach certain areas where people could be. It's preferred sometimes. And also we have various lights on our vehicles that we can utilize to illuminate a very large sections, even including a park as well.
thank you so much, Vice Mayor Wise.
Am I assuming correct that the same, you don't really have an issue at Purvis Park either, since we're talking about,
No,
Lighting.
nothing stuck out in terms of data from there.
okay, great.
Thank you so much. Oh, Ms. Weiser, I keep forgetting she's over there.
Chief, are you aware, and you may not be aware, of any vandalism that has occurred that never got reported to you?
If-
In other words, was it reported to you as a report for filing or a comment that was made? I'm curious because we had a comment from the service director about some vandalism that was occurring at the park, and yet you only come in with one report. So is this a problem or not? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Per policy, if we get any indication or a report of damage to city property, we have to do an incident report, which would then generate here. You'll see since August of last year, we've had 2 incidents where the park was vandalized and damaged.
I'm not sure about lights and not. I'll probably go take a little deep dive into some of the literature, some of the peer-reviewed refereed articles, where there's a substance and an actual data set. I know when I was a kid, we stayed away from the lights. If we were gonna be in trouble, we didn't want to be seen. Maybe it's changed and maybe kids today will prefer to get in trouble where people can see them, but I do think at some point we're gonna have to consider something one way or another.
Thank you, Ms. Weiser. Any other comments on this particular item? Any questions? Thank you so much, Chief Rogers. Moving on to the last agenda item, the discussion regarding the erection of the four-way stop signs for vehicle traffic safety at the intersection of Meadowbrook. The last time we discussed this, I had spoken with Ms. Mockabee about getting some information, and I'm asking for you, if you don't mind coming up and giving us an update, please. So the idea was to get where they are stopping at that intersection. Because people are just like flying and it's like no break in there. So,
So on the Meadowbrook intersection, or on the Meadowbrook corridor.
yeah,
So we might want to look at the bigger scope, which is Meadowbrook and the corridor, and to see if we could do some traffic calming along it. And then that would possibly help with some of the speeding and volumes and, increase some safety for the pedestrians. So, those include speed tables with speed bumps, lane narrowing, raised crosswalk, the radar speed signs. We could also look at some of the intersections at the turnouts to see if some of those radiuses are too large. We want to tighten up those radiuses so that cars can't fly through the curves as much. They do need to slow down in order to make it a right or a left. So there is some other stuff that we should be looking at before we just go straight to a stop. Another stop sign there.
right, which was why we talked about over this time, maybe a traffic study or something like that being done over there, because that's where we left it at the last one. Because I know one of the concerns, like the resident was pointing out, that it's a longer uninterrupted stretch of 25 miles per hour road. And then the additional issue with the curves in the road and then parked cars there. And it's very often found on the block of Fenwick and Charney. But a driver does not necessarily have a clear visibility from end to end. So that the stop signs were suggested as a pause for that. But I'm open to discussing whatever suggestions, but I think we definitely need to get a study done so we can see what's the best recommendation. I'm sorry, Miss Weiser.
I think the last time we were talking about it, a lot of this came up because people are walking and wanting to cross Meadowbrook. And because there is no stop sign for a rather extended period on that street, there is a tendency for drivers to speed up as they go along, which makes it difficult for anybody in halfway up that street to actually cross it. Traffic calming is nice, but it isn't going to help somebody walking across the street. I know that studies show, and traffic engineers will tell us that things will slow down. They'll slow down, but how much will they slow down? Are they going to slow down enough that someone who is out walking their dog, wants to cross the street to go home, is not playing, hit and miss with the cars. And I think that's more the problem than just speeding up the street.
Thank you. Mr. King, and then Mr. Cooney.
Thank you. Um, I do think that we need to do some more traffic calming around Meadowbrook. It is a bit of a slalom course, the way that drivers approach it. But I really do think that a relatively cheap intervention we could do would be to put in the stops, or, four-way stop at Fenwick. That is a primary route that people are using to get to Walter Stinson Park. And it does break up a large uninterrupted stretch of Meadowbrook. So I think that we as a group, the safety committee, I think we felt that way a while back.
Yeah,
So I mean, I think that would be a good first step. But I do think that we need to address other issues around there. Extending the curbs out around the corners. There's a number of things that could be done, but I think putting the stop sign there would be a good start, in my opinion.
thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Cooney.
Thank you. Looking at that, I agree. It is a slalom course. I mean, it's, between you, if you're west going east, you have Edgerton, which is a stop sign, then nothing until you get to Warrensville Center Road.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to residents in that area, I mean, they keep referring to Fenwick in that particular, and I agree. It is probably to some degrees, a cut through because we're going north-south between like the Walt, Cedar Road, but also going south to, Fairmount or Portland Oval, around there. I, we can't do nothing. And I do think like an inexpensive way to approach it would be a stop sign, flashing stop sign. When you're when you're passing Charney though, it's almost like you're taking a hard right to Fenwick. So that stop sign is going to come up on those drivers heading east through the city. They're going to get a lot of visibility if they're on Meadowbrook going west. It's going to be easier to see. So I would think we may want to consider, like the flashing lights around the stop sign, or some signage at Charney, stop approaching, or something, if we were to go down that route.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney. Vice Mayor Wise.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Marshall. So I know this group did vote to put stop signs there, so I'm not sure what the holdup of that is. I know that I spoke to Ms. Maccabee also about when she has a chance. NOACA has all of these kind of pilot programs. They have a warehouse full of roundabouts and speed bumps, and we can pilot them on some streets. What's very interesting, and I've said this I think I've said this publicly before, but when I've traveled in other cities, newer cities, they actually have roundabouts on regular streets, and it completely slows down the traffic. But until we can get to that point, we could do the roundabouts on Belvoir, on the Miramar and Meadowbrook piece. We definitely asked for stop signs there. So, I don't know how that can happen right away, but that is, I agree with everybody. That's the easiest thing right now until we can have a full study on how to deal with some of these intersections.
Ms. Maccabee, you didn't have anything else you wanted to say? Because I want to hear from you.
So you.
That's what the committee voted for.
I recall,
There.
I recall us saying we wanted to get the traffic study. That's what I recalled. I didn't recall, I know we all came to the consensus that we wanted the stop sign. But based on something that you were sharing, or that was shared at that meeting, we left thinking it was gonna be a traffic study done. That was what I understood.
Yeah, and usually we want these decisions kind of data driven to kind of support. We wanted to.
Go ahead, Ms. Markley.
No, I was, however you want to proceed, I'll proceed. Like the traffic study, is this timeframe? Sometime between now and the end of the year, and then next year's budget, probably want.
On that. How would we do that as far as the budget? Ms., Vice Mayor White.
I mean, when we've asked for traffic studies before, I know the chief has had some officers there as well. So I think it's kind of a combination, right? Of the police
We-
department and the engineer?
We've utilized some of our speed radar signs, electronic speed limit signs that isn't always the best way to capture the actual data there because they see it versus something that an engineering department would do.
Chief, can you utilize those signs without the speed being shown?
You can, yeah, there's stealth mode on it, but again, they're still visible. We've deployed them there multiple times in the past. I've shared that data with the committee before. But yeah, we can use some of that to try to collect some data, but I don't know if that would suffice for an actual engineering study to justify or identifying warranting numbers for a traffic modification or traffic control modification. But again, I would defer to the engineers.
Thank you, Chief Rogers. Yes, sir. I can't even get your name on. Mr. Pennington, thank you.
Sorry, it looks like the microphone is not completely working here. I'm going to hand each of you a copy of the Ohio Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices section regarding stop signs and their use for multi-way stop locations. One of the things that I've highlighted on this is that stop signs should not be used for speed control. So I do want to caution you on that. You do open up the city to liability where unwarranted stop signs go in if an accident were to occur at that location. Most of the warrants in regards to multi-way stops are volume based, and that comes with a volume of that's 300 vehicles per hour for every hour of 8 hours of a given day, with 200 vehicles per hour coming from the side street. So knowing where we're at with our community out there, it's very highly unlikely we're going to see those type of volumes. The other thing they look at is 5 or more reported crashes in a 12-month period that are susceptible to correction by multi-way stop. That's another thing that you're not going to see likely at this location. What I would say and what I would highly suggest is look at your traffic calming, like Ms. Mockbee had indicated, and look at doing a curb bump outs. Slow traffic by just perception of going through a narrow area as they go through something. So I would encourage consider that for mandating a multi-way stop location that would not be warrants.
So what makes you're saying that it might not meet the state warrants, so that would be the purpose of the traffic study one. And I don't know that you can say, I don't know, I travel that way quite a bit and so do a lot of other people. It's a through street. A lot of people use it and we probably surpassed that 300 cars going through there. And the GP, I wouldn't know because I don't drive it per hour, but I know I drive it regularly and it's very well traveled. Your GPS actually directs you that way a lot. And so a lot of people probably are going that way. But again, the traffic study might show that. But Vice Mayor Wise.
I mean, I would just suggest, I mean, I think we need to have and the chief knows that I asked about speed bumps like 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday. I think we have to have another conversation about that before we start pushing out curbs and spending all of that money when there could be some simple and cost-effective ways. Maybe this can be on the next agenda and we can have a more robust discussion. And then you know, Ms. Mockby could tell us how much a traffic study would cost. So if we need to embed it into the budget, we can do that. So we have, you know, we have some more information, especially on, and maybe we could talk about some other intersections also.
Okay, Ms. Weiser, thank you, Ms.
I think I talked about walking across the street, which
Mhm.
is safety
Mhm.
and not necessarily focusing on speeding.
Mm-hmm.
That was one. And number two, the last time we had this go round on the stop sign, I did ask the law director if we were absolutely required not to put that stop sign up. And I believe he told me we did not necessarily not have to do it, that we could do it if we wanted to.
We're
I
risking some
agree.
liability by doing.
Okay, but if we're talking about safety, we're not necessarily talking about trying to get rid of speeding, because part of the complaint is crossing the street.
Mm-hmm.
I, I do think some of the other ideas, yeah, maybe you need to talk about it at some point. But I think this thing has been hanging on now for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, no matter what the committee decided, nothing happened. And I'm glad you brought it up again, Miss Marshall, so that we can finally start talking about it again.
Yes, it'll be it'll be brought up again. Heck, I had something I wanted to say. Never mind. Anybody else have any other comments on this? These statements? So where we're gonna do from here is you're gonna check to see what the cost of the traffic study would be and all of that.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Martha. And so once this gets back on the agenda again, I'll just be looking to hear from you and what you have to say and your ideas. And then we'll discuss it again in committee. But I think it's definitely, oh, I know what I was gonna say. Those speed bumps or I remember it being an issue with our emergency vehicles and the damage, the concerns that it can cause damage to our emergency vehicles too. So I
Yeah,
remember that
there's-
being an issue.
There's a drawback.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about those.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Mockby. I appreciate it. All right, thank you so much for everyone who came to the safety meeting. And I think it's safe to say we can adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.